Assalamualaikum and a very good day. For today's class, we in chapter 3 right now, the CMS development. This is part 1. We're going to discuss a CMS development cycle. So basically, this is a sequential cycle, and the flow of the cycle is unstoppable. I mean, it's keep going and grows, right? Because we must have up to date and recent information we need to supply to our readers or user. So basically, we start with the how we going to organize and the people involved in this CMS development, and we should discuss the workflow creation, the repository, versioning if needed, and then publish and then archive. The 7 stages of CMS development cycle or development life cycle. We begin with organization. So this is where categories are created, vocabularies are controlled, taxonomic hierarchies are designed, and faceted classification schemes are developed. So this is it is some sort of a brainstorming to identify the theme or niche of your web content. So this is the stage where your content strategy is matched to your business strategy by designing it with your users in mind to ensure that they can and always will actually use it. This is the identification or branding of your web content. So the next stage, once you have everything's been organized, that means everything, your team, and users expectation, interface design. So we move to the second stage where we call it a workflow. So this is how we want to know who is responsible to what. So it's involved like what we have been discussed before. We have a technical staff, we have a management staff, even the human resource also include in this stage, in this CMS and a project or development. But this is to identify maybe you need to set up the rules, who are responsible for content updating, who are responsible for technical issues such as server or network bottleneck issue, accessibility to private or whether it is private or public. So for this workflow, okay, you must have carefully designed but flexible rules that keep the content moving, consistent with your business requirement and rules, your policies and procedures. So a certain area, okay, you need to be compromised. You need to know the rules or and regulation of the publish of your content. For example, if you want to create a CMS for University Tun Hussein On, for example, you must have a knowledge and follow the rules that being employed by the UTHM itself, and also Minister of Education and Digital Law by Malaysia. Okay, all of that thing need to be considered. You must have this monitoring or observation of your content writer, people who have this responsibility to put any content to your CMS. So the third stage is the creation. This is where authoring, capture, acquisition, aggregation, conversion, editing tools, metadata tagging. So all of these things uh, you need to implement in the CMS development cycle. So this is the stage where the it is classifies everything into the architectural categories and design in stage one. So we have stage one, stage two, and stage one is organization, and then we move to the workflow, uh, and then we move to the stage where we start creating uh, the the CMS, and then once you have deploying all of the content, okay, it is not published yet. Okay, we should have an editorial or editor that need to confirm the content of the CMS before it been published to the public. Okay, so uh, it can be in a straightforward process where the content is directly published, but it is not viewable to the public, or you have this team inside this testing server or a local server before it being upload to the actual server. So the next stage is what being developed before this in the creation stage. You need to identify how do you want to store, okay, which database. Okay, either you want to have a storage database that have this manipulative element that can control all of the accessibility information, or maybe you want to make it local first, and then upload all of this database later on. So how do you manage this? What kind of storage it is determined by your team. So this is the fourth stage. And then if it is if it is being deployed and viewable to the public, so we move to the next stage where uh, what version do you want to publish? Okay, maybe we have a few web content that using the CMS, but different theme and different information. And remember when you type a website, for example, uthm.edu.my, suddenly they go to the location or address, have a folder, for example, V2, V3, and so on. So that is the control of the versioning. Why this is need to be versioning? Okay, it is due to upgrade of your web content. So why we are not deleting or dispose the previous content of the web page? Okay, somehow the new version maybe have a loophole or a problem, so we need to going back to the previous version. Okay, when we are discussing about repository, okay, you need also know how you want to do the backup. Okay, either you have this parallel server that have this capability of acting as a backup server. So that means if one is down and another one is up, it's depend on your server administrator to control this. Okay, and after versioning, again, the publishing. So which version is you want to publish? Okay, what type of a link that you want to attach to uh, another website. Okay, and then everything need to be tested before it's gonna be published to the public. Okay, when you do the process of development, okay, most of your work is assignment level or a project level for undergraduate course. So you don't have this real environment of CMS development. Okay, it is a kind of easy because it is some sort of using a web application, updating the content, the theme, editing user, and so on and so forth. But that one is a very small project. Okay, but in the real environment where the accessibility or the traffic in and out for your website sometimes have a huge traffic, so it is a big content of your web page or web site, so you need have this a team. There is some sort of organization that can handle everything before it's going to be published, and then after it is published, okay, archiving. Okay, this is necessary. Okay, why it is necessary? Because um, we want to access back, okay, what is your previous content. Somehow it's gonna be affect your storage. I means your cost of storing the data. Okay, whether you want to put it inside the cloud or uh, perhaps you're using AWS or Google Cloud for the storage and backup, or maybe you can download manually to your repository area for this archive content. Okay, then that is the last stage of this CMS development, and it's going to be again and again. For example, if you want to upgrade your website, okay, are you going to upgrading the previous version of your website or create a new one? Okay, it's depend on your organization. Okay, for me, okay, it is good for you just upgrade the existing web content or website. Okay, you just do some sort of migration. For example, your PHP compiler need to be updated. The Apache server, for example, is a new version, and then you want to communicate with the API, HTML5, okay, a new CSS, and then you just upgrade. But your content is in backup in the XML form. XML form that contain all of the meta tag or metadata. Okay, everything just easy to replace or create a new one. So the circle or the cycle of the CMS development going to be the same thing. We begin with organization and then a workflow. Okay, up until archive your CMS content, right? So CMS project process. Okay, textbook, please discard that. This is notes from the textbook. We have six stages. Okay, we have a business justification, requirement gathering, design, implementation, deployment, and maintenance. This is the six stages. Okay, what we are going to discuss is you need to assess the readiness. Okay, get a mandate. Okay, whether your project is going to be deployed or not. So this is your business justification. Okay, if it is confirmed, okay, you need to gather requirement, do logical design, okay, do the preliminary investigation. So this is the gathering requirement, and then you want to design. So design is involved for hardware and software, and then how do you want to plan the implementation of your CMS? So this is the third stage, and then after you are confirmed what hardware or software that you want to use, so we move to the implementation. Now this is the hardest part. You need to know what system do you want to use, okay, the hardware, everything, and then how you want to process the content. So this is the implementation. Okay, after the implementation and so everything is in place, so we move to the deployment. Load and test content, deploy and test system. So this is under uh, maybe inside the editing process, editorial board need to be confirmed, and after a pilot test, for example, is being investigated, and it is suitable uh, for the deployment of the CMS. And then after deployment, of course, don't leave your work behind. We need to do a maintenance. So as you can see, from stage 1 to stage 5 is quite tedious, and then after everything is being deployed, so you just need a few members of your team to do the maintenance, and then maybe suggest for the upgrade. So this is the CMS project process. All right. Okay. When you do your project, okay, please bear in mind this is the sixth stage that you need to involve. Okay. I'm going to give you a case study, and then the business justification is not that difficult for you. You just need to know the requirement of the project, and then gather the information and design, okay, based on the project requirement, and do the implementation, and hope if you do the project in a team, everyone have their own responsibilities, okay, especially the technical stuff. Okay, I don't want your team just have one programmer, and then everybody just doing for example, my part is just writing the report, my part is just designing the team, okay, the niche. No, please know everything, okay, because this is it's actually not in the development process, this is actually the learning process for you. Okay, that is the six stages of CMS project process. So we move to the part two, CMS administration system. So when we go to the maintenance, okay, inside the maintenance itself, we have a team of administrating the website. Okay, the area of implementation of administration system consists of three things: collection of the system, management system, and publishing system. So each of these person or each of this team, this is just the theory behind, okay, behind of this administrating your CMS. Okay, it's up to you if you want to follow or not. It's depend on your CMS content. So in the collection system, staff configuration rules and access right are set. Metadata configuration, the system of metadata field and list is maintained, and then the system configuration, the structure and workflow of the content management system are maintained. So this is the configuration that you need to know inside the collection system. Okay, you need for staff configuration, you must know whether you are administrator or you are manager, for example, inside a Joomla, or maybe you have a few responsibility for certain sites of your CMS. For the metadata configuration, okay, metadata is came from the metadata. Why this is very important? Because the metadata consists of information of your web page itself. Okay, how you organize data. Remember back in previous chapter, and then the system configuration. Okay, the structure and the workflow of the content management system are maintained. The structure and workflow. Okay, in management system, administrator perform many of the usual database administration. Okay, for example, permission. Okay, if you want to add a new users, if you want to change the privilege of the users, do a backup, do archiving, or do the migration, or any other task that related to manage the system. Uh, Maybe in the management system also, the system administrator perform content specific tasks such as creating a content type and performing metadata review and creating workflow. So this is either you do it manually or you have a third party of investigating this metadata. We have Google Analytics, we have a Google keyword analysis where it can give you a determination, when it can give you a result whether your content is fulfill the need of users. That is why nowadays we have all of this vast information and data, and then we want to manipulate this data by do the analytic. Okay, do the analysis based on the analytic application. Okay, that is why right now a big data or data science is very useful, especially to e-commerce where we want to target the prospect buyers, the prospect geological and demographic information, so that what is you need for the information to the prospect buyer. And in the publishing system, okay, publishing system is actually a very easy part where the administrator need to confirm first what need to be published. Okay, remember, if you go back to Joomla, for example, I'm using Joomla as a simple example because when you add articles and we add some sort of any module inside your Joomla, in the future you just simply enable or disable it. So that is the responsibility of the system, the administrator who control the publishing system. So that is the three part, okay, the three part of administration system in CMS. Okay, technically any development of web content or any digital content still can use these three types of management, the collection system, the management system, and the publishing system. So which part is difficult? None of them is difficult, no too easy. So it's not easy, it's not difficult. It's depend on on your content itself. So this is uh, example of users. For example, okay, we have several permission. For example, we have a super user, okay, and then we have administrator, and we have a normal user, and then maybe we have everyone else. This is a reader. So this four example, okay, super users, it can be a manager, owner of the uh, or website, and then super user normally create users, okay, create a users that have their own and responsibilities. And for example, super users can create administrator, but administrator can create a user and cannot create a user. Okay, and super user also can create a normal user. Okay, so this is just an example. Okay, this is just an example. It's depend on the CMS that you use. Okay, if you use Drupal, okay, maybe they have a different type of managing user or people that have the responsibilities towards the development of the CMS. Okay, logging. Okay, what is meaning of logging? Logging is to keep track what has happened in the system. Okay, this is very important. If you into security, okay, into on data privacy and everything related on that thing, logging is very important because it being captured by the server what is being accessed and the activities of the process. Okay, we have a web server activities and we have a workflow, and we have a versioning and sharing, we have a repository of database and the process log. Okay, just like a logbook when we record everything of the activities. This is very important. Even though somehow it consume bandwidth and storage, but it is important for managing and security of your CMS content. So this is another example. In Joomla, we have two type of user. We have a front end when we have an administrator, and then administrator can have this role of manager, okay, administrator, and a super user, and the front end, okay, registered author and editor and publisher. Okay, what is the difference between front end and back end? Okay, front end is you can view, okay, you can view and have a certain level of security or privilege, while administrator you can do everything, even though deleting your CMS. Okay, that's all. Part 1 and part 2. Thank you.